I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Laura, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Lasky.
Here.
Mayor Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Keck.
Here.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Here.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Police Chief.
Here.
Community Development Director.
Here.
Fire Chief. And City Engineer. No? Absent. Okay. Roll call complete.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items. Any citizens with correspondence to be distributed to council should provide items to city clerk prior to the start of the meeting or after the meeting has adjourned, limited to 5 minutes. Okay. Consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval, any member of council may have an item removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Items include approval of minutes, payroll, invoices, consideration of proclaiming April 25th, 2025 Arbor Day in the city of Manistee, consideration of the Manistee Lions White Cane Days, consideration of TJ's Block Party and Concert, consideration of the 2025 Run the Pier Racing Event, consideration of Music Sparks meeting hosting the Roots on the River concert series, consideration of Trinity Lutheran Schools 5K color run. At this time, council could take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Laura, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of a Ramsdale Regional Center for the Arts Board appointment. Section 4.a of the Ramsdale Regional Center for the Arts, RRCA, lease agreement with the city states that they shall have the right to appoint at least one voting member of the RRC board to serve as city representative. The city's chief financial officer was serving in this role but has stepped down. At this time, council could take action to nominate and appoint a city representative to the RRC board. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that Lainey Rosga.
Is there a second?
That's second.
Any discussion on that?
What'd you guys do?
Any discussion?
I'll try it for a while, but I intend to report back
Thank you.
after
I
a meeting.
think that's
Good.
plan we're,
So-
Okay.
Laura, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan. Councilmember Keck.
yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of ordinance Z25-01 to amend Article 2, Section 206 entitled Definitions and Interpretations E of the zoning ordinance of the City of Manistee. Definitions of electronic message board and electronic sign were added to the zoning ordinance. As an ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. If this ordinance is introduced at this time, it could be adopted at the next regular meeting. At this time, council could take action to introduce zoning ordinance Z25-01, amending Article 2, Section 206. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is
I'd
there
like-
any place that's looking for this ordinance to pass, or is it just passing the ordinance?
Well, in 2017, it was taken out. I'm not sure why. And then we just wanted to make sure that that was put back in for those 2 definitions.
Oh, okay.
Do we want that put back in? I mean, we're probably talking about a sign on the highway, correct, on 31 on the corner, and that's kind of a hard one to navigate anyway. So when you read the description of what could go in there, do we have to do that?
Are we
Is
approving
it-
anything or
yeah,
just adding an ordinance?
we're adding the
We're-
electronic part of it, right?
But we're adding a definition
Okay,
in there. So when it comes to me, what I would normally do is just go on what the general ordinance, or I should say general definition is.
so we're
and then-
locking it down a little more.
Correct. And this
So-
is what the attorney has suggested.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
It did say it would revolve like every 60 minutes, so it wasn't a continual revolution of,
But that's what I'm asking. Are we approving a particular sign or just the?
No, Not even, just the definition.
Okay.
Okay.
That is it,
Okay.
just the definition.
And this is partly because there has been some other litigation on other
Lawsuits
communities,
regarding-
correct?
Correct, that is going to be coming up in the future.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky,
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan,
Yes.
Councilmember Keck,
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Rosca.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Now we will have a report from Chief Josh Glass, the Police Department.
Good evening. Let's set up here. Thank you in advance for giving me the opportunity to present tonight. So obviously an honor and privilege. With 4 new council members, I wanted to kind of make sure I give a broad overview, even though I've met with each of you individually, or most of you individually, of what the police department does, and talk about some of our highlights and lowlights or challenges. So just real quick, there's an overview of our organizational chart. The chief of police is on top. I have a part-time administrative assistant. You'll hear me talk about it a little later, but we have a police chaplain, which we brought back this year. And then basically our police department's divided into 2 sections: patrol operations and investigative operations. Our 2 patrol sergeants run our patrol operations. They supervise our code enforcement officer, patrol officers, and cadets when we have employed recruits in the academy. And then our detective is in charge of larger investigations and really oversees all investigations ultimately. So that's a snapshot of our organizational chart. I promise you I don't have 100 slides in here. So I want to talk about real quick our new additions. So Officer Jake Bartinsky and Officer Jade Bray. So this year was the first year, I've been here 21 years, that we've accomplished a feat. We had 3 officers in 1 year on FTO. And so you say, what is FTO? So when a police officer in the state of Michigan goes to a police academy, they're usually 14 to 16 weeks. The state of Michigan mandates that they have, I know it's over 700 hours of training in the police academy. Some years it's 770, what the number is. So they have 16 weeks or over 700 hours of training. And when they get hired by a police department, specifically us, they have to go through 4 months or 16 weeks of a field training program. So when you hire someone, send them to the police academy and train them, it's 8 months before they're actually making independent decisions and impacting your operations. This year, we had 3 officers in 2024 that were on FTO. While we're happy to take advantage of employee recruit program and to find state grants to fund that, our FTOs, it's been quite a year. So I'm very proud of our FTOs, FTOing 3 people, but understand that it absorbs a lot of organizational resources. And as a note, 2024, we started off with 9 police officers. I mean, we were at an all-time low. We had our detective sergeant back in uniform, taking calls for service on the road because of unexpected departures and retirements. So the theme of this is you're going to see that we did a lot with very little. So very proud of our department, so we're going to get into it. So I talked about Bud Goodspeed. So he's our police chaplain. We started this chaplain program when Chief Bachman was the public safety director. And we have found great value both internally and externally having a chaplain. The tribe has used him in the past, and so has the sheriff's office. Last year I said, where's our chaplain program? Let's bring it back. This person donates his time. We have sent him to chaplain training. He assists our employees sometimes when employees just need to talk to someone, when we have grieving families, when we have death notifications. Anytime someone of this character is willing to volunteer their time, we want to nurture that. So we brought that program back in 2024. Toby Van Ness, code enforcement. Budget last year approved for a code enforcement officer. We were fortunate to find Toby Van Ness because his previous employment was a zoning administrator. So it was a really short curve to learn, and he really hit the ground running. Really for us, we hired him in July-ish, really started doing his job early August. And I'll go through his stats a little later, but really in these type of positions, part-time code enforcement, Typically, you'll attract a retired police officer or a young kid looking to get into law enforcement. We were very fortunate to find him and to hire him. And then although this was early this year, I wanted to include it. We went through a promotional process, which includes some qualifiers with years of service, but written test, oral boards, not an easy process. And Jeremiah Hayner, who was an officer for us, came out on top, and I really appreciate council members who were there. Don't ever underestimate your presence. Our employees, our officers really enjoy it. When we see you at events, it meant a lot to Officer Hayner to see council members there. It really does, so that's why I included a photo. So let's go through some statistics. So what I use a 3-year total, and as you can see in 2024, pretty in line with 2022, almost 6,000 calls for service, which is up there for us. And again, very proud of our men and women for doing this with less bodies. Self-initiated, let me back up. Dispatch complaints means when somebody picks up the phone and calls 911. You know, there's a might get in trouble for saying this, but there's a Mark Twain quote out there about statistics, and I don't control dispatch complaints. I think it's an accurate measure of what the community wants for officers. So we get that number for dispatch. So 5,900 represents when someone picked up a phone and called 911 in the city of Manistee. And so those are 5,900 calls for service. Self-initiated is a combination of traffic stops. If an officer sees something and addresses it himself, a lot of it is follow-up. So you can see that was up as well. Written complaints are down a little bit over the 3-year total. Citations, again, when you have staffing issues, proactive work is what gets impacted. Our citations are down. Arrests are down a little bit, and then accidents are down. So 2 years ago, I think I talked about our citations were high and our accidents were low. And a council member asked me if there was a correlation. I don't know if we have enough data right now that would suggest the higher traffic enforcement lowers your accidents. There's not enough data here to make that leap. So when we talk about tickets, number one, traffic enforcement is important to us because it's the most visible thing that law enforcement does to the public. Even myself, if you're driving around, say, oh, the police are out tonight stopping cars. And we want to be visible, as the public knows we're out there, and so we're deterring crime. But we're not just running traffic to run traffic and writing our community members tickets. We like to be problem-oriented. I made a note down here. In 2024, we had a number of complaints related to speeding up and down First Street and First Street Beach. And so I assigned an officer there from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. when calls for service allow it. And we wrote, of the 482, 104 of those citations are related to First Street alone. So we had a lot of complaints to the community, and that's how we responded with traffic enforcement. Most of those violations are speed, kids peeling out tires and damaging our new asphalt. I'm being told it's called the Carolina tilt or whatever it is, where the back of the vehicle, which in reality causes some safety concerns. Those are generally the type of violations. So again, my philosophy is it's problem-oriented traffic, not just run around writing tickets anyway. So we want to be clear about that. And I have a couple of snapshots here. Our report writing software breaks this down for us. But crimes against persons, these are the categories it gives me. 24, 27 sexual assaults. In 2023, there were 20. And then you see the bottom there, the assaults are pretty flat from year to year, from last year to this year. A note here, we see the kidnapping. These are how crimes are reported. Oftentimes, for example, I don't have the specific information, but you might file a report that's kidnapping, and as we investigate, you find out it's not kidnapping. So this file class is how it's reported to the police, not the final result. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then crimes against property. Most of these categories are pretty flat. I will note that our larcenies are cut in half from last year. Last year it shows we had 108. This year it was 55. Our damage to property was pretty flat. Our burglaries were down a little bit. And burglary, to be clear, is when you break into something with the intent to steal. So you could break into a shed if you intend to steal, that's a burglary. A lot of us visualize the cat burglar breaking into your house. That's not necessarily what it is. It's B&E with intent. So I don't want to get too bogged down in the details. So So we see a little reduction in property crimes. Let's talk about code enforcement, 'cause I know it's a very passionate conversation for council. Toby, excuse me, provided me with some statistics here. And so August to December of last year, 86 property contacts, a total of 40 citations have been written, which is quite a bit. 14 of those citations were dismissed due to compliance. Again, we're always looking for compliance first. And 11 have gone to the district court magistrate for ruling. And myself, Bill to a certain degree, and Toby have really worked with the courts as to refine their process in terms of fines or court orders. So it's a continuous process. So there's more at play here than the city. It's more about the county court system and how we can have the best result through them. I will note here that in addition to code enforcement, Toby helps out Jerry Blue quite a bit with rental inspections outside of blight season, which is usually when the snow flies. In fact, he and Jerry do quite a bit working to catch up on rental inspection. That's quite a task. And then sometimes helping Teresa with zoning. Again, we're fortunate to have him because there is no training period. He's familiar with all of it. In fact, can offer us some insight to help refine some things. So we're, again, very fortunate. I've got a bunch of before and afters, but I only included 3 or 4. Just some before and after. I'm a big proponent for pictures, so we can see just junk driveway, terrible. This is a parking lot, alley, pile of junk. So just got a bunch snapshot of some before and after pictures. I think they're pretty important. Police department, community involvement. One of our big events we started in 2022 was Kids Safety Day, and really that got started because the chief said, well, why don't we do a big community event? And everyone said, well, COVID. I said, well, you just got to push it off the cliff and let's go. So we have gained a lot of support with our city departments, the fire department, and other organizations. And this event keeps getting bigger every year. And so the average attendance is about 400 people. We have over 20 organizations, police, fire, ambulance, NRBC is there, the hospital is there, and it's free of charge, and we just teach parents and kids safety tips, and we promote positive interactions. We've been fortunate the last 2 years. They landed a helicopter. Everyone loves that. That's a tough commitment during the summertime. I don't have a picture of Safety Pup in here, but Safety Pups makes a big appearance. So it's just a huge community event. We're very proud and humbled to be part of it. We want it to continue to grow. Just a couple more pictures here. Something else we do, Shop of the Hometown Hero. And the county sheriff kind of spearheads this. But number one, the picture on my left is pretty cool. But the one on the right just shows participation and the impact we have on kids' lives. We feel very fortunate because I had an officer who volunteered their time off to come to this to work because she understood the importance of it. That's a rarity in today's workforce, volunteering your time off, especially during the holidays. So I'm very proud of her to do that, understanding the impact we can have on young people's lives. And so we had a tremendous turnout by police, fire, DOC, the Coast Guard, and it was a great night. And then just like pop-up events. So one of our department goals next year is continue to grow our community involvement. So this was something with the Coast Guard Commander Gear. It's National Wear Your Life Jacket to Work Day. So we went to different businesses, organizations. That's Jefferson Elementary. On the right, he's getting wanted at the courthouse just to promote life jacket awareness. It's a national day, but basically getting out in the public, interacting, having positive interaction with schools, courts, different departments. So very important to us. Let's talk about collaboration real quick. School safety. So for the schools in the city of Manistee, we have a police officer assigned to a liaison program. So it's not a SRO. It's not a full-time officer there, but it's a liaison. And we've had some positive results of that. It bridges the gap between police and schools and assures a communication line. And that'll be really important if our school opens up next year. But also what we do for school safety is we do tabletop exercises with school staff. And my philosophy is we will come in and do tabletop exercises. And basically we're doing scenarios to run staff through their EOPs. If you got 15 minutes, you got 2 hours, we'll do whatever. We'll do whatever you want. We want to make sure we can work with you on this. We also work with schools on lockdown exercises. I attend the school safety meetings every 2 months. We bring up bigger issues, all the county schools. with law enforcement officials, just to make sure those lines of communication are open. We're all geared for the same thing. We're all looking for the safety of our kids in school, and we're trying to figure out a way to maximize that. And then, which is technically safety, our officers teach water safety in every school, except Casman opted out every year. It's a program that I put together with the Great Lakes Water Safety Consortium. Again, we're teaching water safety. It's just a great positive interaction with the kids and the police. Law enforcement collaboration. So we talked about collaboration. We collaborating with our law enforcement partners. I want to talk about scent for a little bit. And I know Mayor Pro Tem Smith knows about scent because he used to run the team, but scent is a multi-jurisdictional task force that's run by the state police. And he said, well, multi-jurisdictional, it sounds like a military police term. That means typically there's a lieutenant and a sergeant from the state police, and they run the team. And then everyone in that jurisdiction that it covers assigns people there. So you have deputies and you have officers, multi-jurisdictional. And so really the model is for scent to provide services, you have to pay a certain amount of money that just funds their team. It really doesn't fund it, it's not enough. Or you send them a body. And so what we've seen in the last few years is, as sheriff's departments and police departments have staffing issues, all these multi-jurisdictional teams are having problems. And it was really 6 months ago that scent was fully staffed, and you're seeing the results of that now. In January, they put together a very large search warrant, and a couple days later, we arrested someone for distributing narcotics as well. So you're seeing what happens when these teams are staffed. The unfortunate thing, excuse me, these multi-jurisdictional teams, when law enforcement departments don't have staffing to cover their calls for service, these teams suffer. And so my budget request is going to reflect putting someone on the drug team because that is our number one resource to combat drugs. The other side of that coin is aggressive and consistent prosecution. Our new elected prosecutor has assured me that he's going to take a stance on drug sales. So that is scent, and that's how we collaborate with them. We also collaborate multi-jurisdiction with our dive team. Our county dive team is made up of tribal officers, city police officers, and the county dive team. And then special events. Our special events in the city of Manistee have excelled, and I think we're over 20 last year. 15 years ago, 5. So we have to collaborate in order to ensure public safety. No one department has enough to address any of these issues. So here's an example of just quick out-of-the-box collaboration. We got reports from the Coast Guard that there's some wake issues in the channel. And so when we got the no wake signs posted up, it was like, well, we don't have a boat. And so we said, let's put 2 city police officers with the Coast Guard to patrol because the Coast Guard cannot enforce local ordinance. We put 2 of our officers. One of those officers is actually a charter boat captain. We went out and made contact with a lot of fishermen and just educated them on the wake. There's a misconception that the wake zone starts at the stub pier, but our ordinance is very clear, it starts at the pier head. So public education, getting out, and trust me, it wasn't a hard sell to get our officers on a boat for a couple hours. Now, that's not a sustainable level of enforcement, but it's great to collaborate with our federal partners and give us a means to educate that. We don't need to be out ripping tickets, it's education first. So it's very important. I've had conversations with our sheriff and found a path for him to help out in the future as well. Special events. I have 2 pictures on here. The picture on the left is actually, this is taken, I think, a month or 2 ago. This is internal versus external collaboration. So you see all of your city department heads there. We're meeting with the chamber about Forest Festival. So you see all the internal collaboration here as far as putting together an ops plan. And what you see on the right is Sleigh Bell from I think 2 years ago. And this is external collaboration. There's about 40-some people in that room. You have city police officers, troopers, county, you have emergency response team people. There's a lot of people that come together to make sure these events are safe, and this is what it takes. So I included this picture to show the external collaboration we have with law enforcement partners. And again, I say law enforcement, but it's our fire departments, right? And our DPW, there's a tremendous amount of work. I think that picture kind of says it all. And then last slide, I want to talk about just awards. This year, Sergeant Mansickle, Detective Sergeant Goodspeed, and Chris Frankovic were awarded, first department members ever, the Meritorious Service Award for all their work on successful department accreditation, which we were accredited in February of 24, and now we're restarting the accreditation process. So I always like to end on awards, a great accomplishment by them. And then always thank you to Manistee City Council for your continued support. Do you have any questions?
Thank
I
you.
have a question. You said that on the first slide, and it had people that were supervising. You talked about cadets. Is that part of the FTO?
No, so there's two cadets. One, typically a paid cadet could be like a paid intern.
Okay.
The way this is in our organization, when we hire someone and we call them employee recruits, there's multiple terms we got to use there. That means that we hired someone who hasn't been to a police academy. So we find someone that we identify and we think was consistent with their visions and our priorities and integrity of our department, and we send them to a police academy after we hire them, and then after that they work for us. Very popular in the 70s, and we find ourselves in that kind of model now.
So that's how you can replace and get more.
Ultimately, a true cadet, a paid cadet, would be someone who works part-time for you. It's a civilian, and you use that as a feeder program.
Nice.
So there's two types of work. I left it as cadet.
Okay.
Does that clarify or make it a little more muddy?
No, I'm just impressed that you're cultivating people in our location to pursue a future in law enforcement. It's a win-win. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Josh, how are we doing on I know the governor gave a deal of kicking everybody out that had small amounts of marijuana and all that.
Are you talking about the set-asides? Or help me understand what you're...
Well, we arrested people over the years, and the governor came along and just gave
Like a pardon?
amnesty for all the drugs, all the people that were in prison for.
I don't know about that. I do know that the state of Michigan approved set-asides, so for certain misdemeanor convictions, those are coming off your criminal record. Those are
doing that
set-asides.
too.
We don't have anybody in jail for marijuana. It's hard enough to keep people in jail and prison for selling narcotics, and that's kind of the world we're in. And just, if you allow me to be on my soapbox 1 second, going back to scent, you know, our vision is to have someone on the drug team that's the #1 resource for drug enforcement, but also prosecution. We need to make sure in this city, and in the county, but I'm concerned about the city, that we make it very uncomfortable for drug dealers to operate, and that has to come from the police and the prosecutor's office. I'll get off my soapbox.
Okay, we don't have nobody on there yet, right?
We don't. We
Okay.
don't.
And you take one of the guys that are on patrol and
We're
put 'em
gonna
on?
post it, and we're gonna see who applies for it.
Okay.
It's dependent on two things, budget and staffing levels. The last time we had someone on scent was Dave Shands, and we had to pull him back because we didn't have enough officers to cover calls for service, so.
'Cause we authorized 13 men a couple years ago, and that's what we're up to. I'm sure.
We're up to 12.
Oh, we don't have the
Yeah.
13th
We're
one?
up to 12. We were down to 9 a year ago, we're up to
Yep.
12 now. We're climbing out of the hole, so.
Okay.
Since your January 17th drug bust and arrested 10 people, have you noticed any difference with drug traffic
What?
in the area?
That's tough. That's a great question, but it's tough. So, Scent facilitated that. We assisted. That was their operation. We assisted that. They did a great job putting it together. And then 2 days later, we arrested an individual for selling narcotics. If I'm being honest with you, it ebbs and flows. 6 months ago, I had Lieutenant Howes talking about how the bad element, because of all the police pressure, post our shooting in 2023, all went to Cadillac. And so it kind of ebbs and flows. And that's why it's so important that, number one, we have enforcement, but we need to make this community a place where it becomes very uncomfortable to sell drugs from a prosecutorial standpoint. So I don't know if that answers your question. It ebbs and flows.
Well, it answers.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Fire Chief Tom Hurton with his report.
All right. Well, hello, Council. My name's Tom Herndon. I'm your fire chief. I've been working for the City of Manistee Fire Department for about 1.5 years now, rounding up on 2 years now. So this is my second time doing this presentation, feeling a little bit less nervous than I was last time. And but more importantly, so I'm really excited to tell you about your Manistee Fire Department. For a small fire department, we have 8 firefighters on the payroll, and that 2 to 3 on per day. They've really done a lot of work this past year and accomplished a lot of great things. So I'm excited to talk all about them. So the Manistee Fire Department, one of the things you'll see is a common question that I typically get is, hey, how many fires do you have in a year? All right, they're like, how many fires? And the answer to that is it's not a lot. We don't do a ton of firefighting anymore. Over the course of history, the amount of structure fires have come down over the years due to like code enforcement, just safer and more effective policies. So what we've done is we've expanded the level of services and the different types of things that we provide, so you get the most bang for your buck and the most service out of your fire department. So we divide up our services into 3 different divisions. We have a prevention division, and under that division, we do things like fire inspections and code enforcement. So anybody who submits plans or a commercial building that gets built in our community, the fire marshal goes over those plans and makes sure that they have the right fire protection, they have the right access, the exits, and fire hydrants and those types of things, and we spend a lot of time doing that. We also do fire inspections of businesses. So anytime there's a new business registration that comes in, we go through that business and do a fire inspection and make sure that they're up to code and they have everything safe and in order. From that other prevention division, we go into the different public education. Public education, we divide that into 2 different things where we do fire station tours where people come in and we teach them all about fire safety and we give them tips and stuff on how to be fire safe. We do CPR and AED training out of our fire station. We also go to other businesses and organizations and provide first aid training. We have a fire extinguisher trainer that we go out and we use that it simulates. It's a television screen with an electric simulated fire extinguisher, and we teach people the proper technique on how to use a fire extinguisher. Just between Morton Salt and Green Acres alone, we educated over 160 people with just those 2 shows there, and we use it for a lot of other things too. So with that, we go over to like the different community events where we do some 5K standbys and we make sure the runners are safe. We help block roads for those. We have a cadet program, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit later on about. And we also spend a lot of time at the senior center. We go there once a month and we talk with the seniors. That can be like a more vulnerable population where they can tend to have more emergencies where we interact with them more frequently. So we answer their questions and help keep them safe and give them good information. Over from that, our other division is our EMS division. So we provide a full service ALS ambulance to the city of Manistee. So an ALS ambulance is the highest level of ambulance service that you can achieve. All right, and how we do that are we staff our 2 paramedics, which is a very high level of service for what we have. Under the EMS division, we do well-being checks where we go check on people who maybe haven't answered the door in some time. We have tools to get into their home and check on them, make sure they're all right. And we do lift assist. Lift assist is a common call, at aged population, and that they have trouble, they fall, they're not injured, but they do need help, and we respond immediately when we're not busy on other calls and go help them out with that too. And then from then, we move on to our fire calls. Our fire calls are divided into 2 different kind of categories. We have the traditional fire calls where we do structure fires, grass fires, car fires, brush fires, and all those types of calls. That was 22 calls of actual fires that were responded to last year. And we also do the other type of calls on the fire side where we respond to car accidents, carbon monoxide, gas emergencies, power lines down, and that. So the name fire department, is really kind of misleading a lot. So we really do a lot of other different things with what we do on a daily basis. So from then, the amount of responses. So these are the incidents that we actually responded to last year. We had a total of 1,272 incidents. That's averaging 3 to 4 calls per day. And that most of those calls, you can see right there, are the rescue and EMS side of things. So EMS and rescue calls represent about 84% of the call volume last year. When it is a transporting ambulance ride, it's about a 53-minute round trip, and that by the time we respond to the call, take care of the person, deliver them to the hospital, and come right back around. So really with the calls in that, they can stay quite busy with that. Then we just have the service calls, which those can be smoke problems, investigating certain types of things. We've been to some elevator rescues and different types of public service. Good intent calls, 88. So those are smoke scares, hazmat investigation, like an oil sheen on the river. We go and investigate those, see if we can find the cause and make sure it's stopped. That. False alarms is a big part of, is another part of the calls we go to. We're just smoke alarm activation, CO detectors, and those types of things. Hazardous conditions, where we do our power lines, natural gas leaks. And last but not least, it's fire calls, where those are building fires, car fires, and grass fires, and that's 22 of those represents that. And with that, so mutual aid. Mutual aid is a big part of what we do, all right? So you can see with those 22 fires that we responded to last year, the NFPA recommends that firefighters, we have 14 to 16 firefighters respond to an actual structure fire, get ready and get to work. Well, if we had a structure fire in the city of Manistee and my entire fire department came in off duty in that would really only give us 8 plus me 9 firefighters on this. So it's really important that we have strong mutual aid agreements with the surrounding other fire departments. They're both other volunteer fire departments. That's what gives us the amount of people that we can do to handle these larger scale emergencies where we need multi-engine companies in that. So far last year, mutual aid was used 149 times. That's 11.7, that's about 12% of our total call volume involves some form of mutual aid. So it's a significant amount that we are interacting with other fire departments and other agencies. So we gave aid, we went out there and helped other agencies 115 times. That represents 63% of the time. And then agencies that came in and helped us was 51 times for 37% of the time where they come in with that. That is lopsided in that, but it is a little bit better than it was last year. That's about 20 less occurrences. And the numbers are getting closer to where it's a little bit more mutual. But there on the other side is the breakdown of the different agencies that we've helped in that and breakdown for that. So on the aid received side, the stuff coming in, this is just a list of the different agencies that come in and help us. In that, you can see MMR, the ambulance, represents the major of our call volume. So that's what does a lot of our interacting back and forth. That. So more on ambulance calls and ambulance information. We do bill for our ambulance service. City of residents are considered insurance only billed. So whatever the patient's insurance reimburses, that's what we charge. We don't charge any city resident over what their insurance will pay. Okay, so really what we provide in the city of Manistee is no out-of-pocket ambulance service for our residents. When we respond outside of the city or inside of the city, not a resident, then they would get the full bill. And those bills can range anywhere from $1,200 to $450. Yeah. So fire inspections, a little bit more on this division here. That fire inspection division, they do what we talked about, the new business registration, the plan reviews, the site reviews. But one of the other things that I thought was interesting that we did this past summer was we called it the Free the Beach. I don't know if anybody remembers, but previously with our fireworks, we would shoot them off from that picture right there on the top, a little bit closer to the beach, and we would have to section off a large portion of our beach just to maintain a certain safety zone. Well, the fire marshal and that looked at it with a little different satellite, and we came up with the idea of, hey, why don't we just slide it back a little bit closer to the elbow so we can maintain the same safety distance and just let everybody enjoy the full beach, so we didn't have to block any of it off. So it was nice to see everybody there, and we gave everybody a little bit more space. So we're ready for more people. Fire prevention, some of the different fire prevention things and activities that we had. We talked about that fire extinguisher trainer. We went and attended the Forest Festival, do a lot of different things with that. The Public Safety Day with our police department. And we had our very first fire safety open house. During Fire Prevention Week in October, we opened up our doors and invited people in. Had a bounce house, served popcorn, did all that, and taught some fire safety things. It was kind of a soft opening. We didn't advertise it really well because we had all the construction going on, so we weren't quite sure how many we could accommodate, but that's something that we look to build in the future. Boats and floats. So this was the very first fundraiser that I'm aware of in that, where we had our firefighters come in off duty. This was a charity fundraiser that they did to raise money for the Great Lakes Burn Camp. That's a camp for children with scarring burn injuries. And that we were able to raise $2,277 that we donated to the camp. We had some great sponsors, individual donations, and I think the troops really had a good time helping out with that. And then it's a good cause. Fire cadet program. So this is something that I was really excited about. So a fire cadet program, and it's like, all right, why is the fire cadet program important? It's because there's a national, state, and local shortage of firefighters. Okay, so just on the volunteer end, whom we rely on to come in and help us, over the past 20 years, their call volume has tripled. And over that same time, volunteerism has decreased by 1/3. So it's converging to where there's not enough responders to answer the calls in a timely manner. We are also having trouble with recruitment and retention too, issues that are going on. After I first started working here, I hired 2 individuals, and that about 6 months after that, one of the people that I hired, he went to the city of Cincinnati, wanted to be a bigger full-time firefighter, right? So then we hired Jordan. I introduced him to you a few months or a month or so ago. It was great, glad to have him, but what I really did is I stole them from Peninsula Township, so that fire department's short. So I was all full staff and, excited and happy about that until about a few days ago when I found out I have another firefighter leaving me who wants to go out west and fight wildland fires and do that type of thing. So there's a shortage of firefighters, and it's hard to keep them because there's a lot of opportunity and they can really move around. So we created this cadet program. All right, and what we did is we went to Manistee High School. We advertised it. We ended up getting our cadets. That's going to be in the top left-hand corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. They came, and what they did, they spent a week at the fire department. From first thing in the morning until about noon, we came and we ran them through the ringer. We gave them all the scenarios that we do. We dress them up in turnout gear. You can see them moving that dummy right there. That's a 185-pound dummy in that. And every single one of them moved that dummy, and they could have passed our physical agility portion on that part of the event. And they really had a good time, and I think they were excited about it. Now, I think one of the most exciting things, and I don't know if you noticed, but if you look up there at the picture, out of those 5 people, 4 of them are female, okay? So that's really exciting to me because only 4% of full-time firefighters are female, all right? So if we have this huge national shortage, I think by explaining and showing to the female population that, hey, this is a good job. This is something we can advertise and show them that we can do is maybe we can help bridge the gap and get more firefighters to sign up. So that was just a really exciting thing for me. They all had a great time, and that was a huge success, and we look to grow that in the future. Training. When the firefighters are not responding to calls, maintaining the station, we do a lot of training. With those fire trucks that we have, they have a lot of cabinets on them, and in those cabinets are a whole bunch of tools. So they have to know how to use each and every one of those tools, the right situation, and all that type of stuff. And it really takes a lot of time to make sure you're proficient at it, you understand how it works, keep it in good working order. And we do a lot of that through training by using the equipment and taking good care of it. The fire station, that's always a really popular topic. Wherever I go, a lot of people like to talk to me about the fire station and how it looks and what's going on there. And please don't paint it. We like the color of the bricks. So this is just a little recap of the things we did in 2024. We removed the paint, so we got the paint and brick restoration going on. That's about halfway done. They are expected to come back as soon as we stop getting the freezing weather. They're going to start working on that. We had some crawl space repairs. Those are some rotting floor joists. That's kind of the second picture down on the left. That was when the Ayers basement systems came in and fixed a lot of that up, put in some sub pumps and that, and I'm happy to say our crawl space is much healthier and doing a lot better. We had a bathroom remodel. That was a budgeted thing that we were able to take care of an upstairs bathroom, make that look better. And then we had a plumbing repair. That led to a second bathroom remodel that wasn't quite planned, but we had a pipe break and we took care of that. So things planned in the future, so things that I'm looking for in additional maintenance and things that the fire station needs. I'm looking for parking lot and landing improvements. You can see some of the cracked pavement and that, and things that we need to just get that repaired and bring that up to maintenance-wise. Looking for apparatus doors and windows. We have the doors, the garage doors and the windows are showing wear and need some updates and maintenance. Looking for kitchen, locker room, and bathroom. Different types of improvements and stuff that I'm going to be trying to schedule and work with that. Remember, we talked about like 4% of our firefighters in full-time are female firefighters. Our station was built in 1888, and we really can't accommodate that with the joined locker rooms and open bedrooms and those types of things. So we're looking to make improvements that way and that too. So just getting those different types of things in the plan or in the schedule. And direct capture exhaust. You know, our fire station was built before we had gasoline fire engines, and nowadays we hook hoses to the exhaust pipes, so we're not pumping carbon monoxide and exhaust into our fire station where we sleep. So looking to make those types of improvements too. So it's a big list, but we're working on it. Lastly, the different goals. Some of our 2024 goals was National Registry. Wanted to get our building on the National Historic Registry. We're on our third draft of that. I got some volunteers working on that. They're great. Hopefully I can show you that plaque next time I'm doing this next year. The paint removal, the bathroom remodel, high school program, all those things. We accomplished most of those in 24. And these are some of my personal goals for 2025. Fire district creation. What I'm calling the fire district, and that is these volunteer fire departments that surround us. I would like us to create closer partnerships, and maybe we can consolidate and work closer together. What the overall philosophy and theory of that is, we can consolidate some of these physical resources, save some money, and invest in human resources where we can get more firefighters on the street to respond immediately. So that's kind of the overall concept, general concept of that. A fire inspection program. A fire marshal is working on more of I'm going to call it a company level fire inspection, to where we can get more of our firefighters out doing more fire inspections during their shift routines. Confined space training, that's an exciting training that we have coming up. National Registry, once I get that number and we're on the National Register, that's where I'm going to start hoping to apply for a lot more grants for some of this building maintenance and ideas that I have with that. I'd like to expand our high school recruitment program. We talked to some of the career tech education. One in Cadillac, they have a program. They're going to come, and we're going to do a little program for them to help get them excited. And then I'd like to talk with the Mason County Career Tech and that, and see if we can keep building these programs just to get more firefighters out on the street. And I'm going to call it the Firefighter Handyman Program. And that, we have a lot of guys that are really handy around the station, and we're going to look for these little nickel and dime projects that we can really take on and help spruce things up on our own too. So really kind of help ourselves with some of that, with some of the smaller things. And I threw Ring the Bell in there. I don't know if everybody knows this, but up at the top of our hose tower, there's this big, huge bell up there. All right, and the rumor is that used to be the curfew bell way back when. So that bell would ring and all the kids would have to be inside. Well, there's no rope or anything hooked to that bell, and I don't know what it sounds like. So I would like to get that thing working again, and I want to integrate that into some kind of charity or some kind of fundraiser thing where we can do like a charity thing where whoever raises the most money for whatever gets to ring the bell or something like that. So just something kind of light and fun that I think the troops like working on in their side time. So with that, that's your fire department.
Any questions?
On that ambulance, I think there's always some concern. How often is it outside of the city, and is the backup coming in from where when it's out of the city, and how far is your jurisdiction? Are you going up to Traverse much, or you stay within? Yeah,
we don't go to Traverse much. There's a few incidents that would call us out that way, or there's a few incidents, like say if someone who's in labor, we do have to take them to Ludington. We would take them to the Ludington. When that does happen, the firefighters call an all-hands callback, and then that means off-duty personnel will respond back to the station. So the time it takes for them to respond and come back and we would backfill, we would be without our city ambulance. In that meantime, that's where MMR covers us, but they are busy too. Right. So it is a balancing act. And sometimes us getting people to come in when they're off duty can be challenges too, right? Because it's the same thing from, you know, why our volunteer fire departments are struggling, because everyone's busy and it's hard to get people to come in off duty, you know, they're just not available. Well, we have some of the same struggles too, and that too with getting people in to backfill. So those are the different things that we work out. How often does it happen? I think that was about the 38% of the time that they would get called out of the city and help. There was that map there that kind of showed the areas and that there. So it is a concern, and it does happen.
Okay. And then, oops, I had one more question. The firehouse, the station looks great, and a lot has changed on that, and people don't really see it often because it's not a lot of people don't go down on that end. Are you planning like an open house for the general public at all, or?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping is, so there's some maintenance scheduled this year, you know, where they're finishing that up, and we're gonna have some concrete work done, some sub pump work done, and all these different types of things. My goal is once I get that national registry, which we're on the National Historic Register, to throw some kind of party.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
rooting for that.
Good.
What happens if someone in the city doesn't have insurance, ambulance insurance? How do they get charged?
Well, if they're a city resident, so it'd never be out of pocket
Okay,
in that. So Medicaid
okay.
typically covers that.
Oh, so you don't run into it very often where somebody just doesn't have insurance that's 30.
In that, so, well, if they're a city resident, you know, they just wouldn't get a bill. If they are outside of the city resident, then they would get one of our bills anywhere from $1,200 to $450 for outside.
You don't do any standby services at school sporting events?
School sporting events, typically not like in an official capacity
Okay.
in that. A lot of times the troops will go there just to be part of the community.
Okay.
But they don't really request us to stand by frequently, no.
Then you had 43 false fire alarms. Were those mostly businesses? Is it an educational thing? Like, what's going on?
Well, so false can mean a few different things. It can be like burned food, all right? So if someone, you know, the smoke detectors go off, it sets off the alarm system, we respond and check it out.
Yeah.
In that, some of those could have been, I'd have to look at that graph again, but like a CO detector, all right? So the CO detector is sounding, all right? It's making a noise. You know, we go there, we check it out. Is there CO? No. You know, their detector's broken, which those have a shelf life, and that's common too.
So, you know, like my house doesn't have a direct link to your fire department. So that's why I'm curious, is it people calling in 911 or is it businesses that have a high-tech alarm system?
A lot of those,
Nursing home?
yeah, like an automatic alarm.
Okay.
So, you know, you have an alarm company, ADT, whatever, alarm company in your home that monitors. You have a monitored system. You burn food, your smoke detector goes off, it calls the fire department. We respond immediately, and before the people have a chance to call and say, no, it's just burned food, we get there.
Okay, now I get it.
Okay.
And didn't you do an ice cream event?
Yeah, that was that boats and floats.
Oh,
And that, so the floats parts was root beer floats,
Okay,
which are way harder to make than you would ever think.
All right, thanks.
Chief, are the first responders BLS or ALS certified?
We have all paramedics in the city of Manistee, yeah. So that's the highest level of like ambulance service that we can provide.
Well, and 1 out of 6 people in Manistee gets the advantages of that, it seems, last year, if you think about the numbers of calls you had. So that's incredible.
Yeah,
Thank you for having such high standards for the people in our community.
yeah, it's really, the firefighters really do a great job.
Wow.
When I first started here and I saw them on their ambulance calls, it was such a relief to see such good paramedics. I would let any of them work on me.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief.
What is?
Okay, now, Chief, I think we talked about this last year, Bill. When you go out, and you're way out in Wellston, and you're out in Arcadia, you call all hands on deck.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had to call them in when I was working, and how are we coming with this contract? Are we getting any place, Bill, that we're supposed to be, I don't know, around the lake, or are we going way out with this thing, or what?
So I think we're looking at a couple different options with that. I was talking with Chief Herndon But I think the fire district approach and having maybe some other ambulance resource in the region and kind of using some combined staffing, I think is something we're exploring right now. But it's not as simple. We just need more. I mean, EMS is kind of the major thing, and we really just have MMR in the city right now, and we need them and they need us. But yeah, it's not ideal for us to be going out that far. So, but it comes down to another ambulance and staffing is really.
Don't we have the backup anymore when you?
We do have a backup ambulance, and when we do get called out to quite a distance away from our from just say the hospital or our area, the guys do automatically call for a callback to bring people in. Is this so that is something that they do use every time they get called out. We call in and ask for people to come back into backfill.
You know, because I've discussed this before, I hate to see our guys going way out to Arcadia.
Right.
Well, I think that's too far out. Okay, thank you.
Audience? Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome. Thanks.
The leadership project discussion is, they asked to be moved to the April meeting, so we will not have that this evening. Citizens' comment. This is an opportunity for citizens in attendance to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement, limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read.
Evening, Council. This may take a few seconds more than 5 minutes. In regard to the malicious mistreatment of our brown, black, and non-white immigrant neighbors, they don't deserve this. We cannot enable these heinous policies carried out by ICE and various government agencies by our silence. These people are in dire need for someone to stand up and speak up for them. Remember the aforementioned "please help us" signs held up to the hotel window in which they were being held prisoners? We can't sit by silently while this travesty takes place. This is being done in our name, your name. Are we okay with that? Are we thumbs up for that? America must not align itself with these atrocious, abusive policies. These agencies are sitting on the bait pile and picking them off as they come in. Those bait piles being the aforementioned work sites, schools, places of worship, taco stands. This Candy Circus Peanut and his merry band of teenage dogebags and clowns are purposefully and maliciously harming people. And they're doing it not only to immigrants and refugees, but to the American people, with the exclusion of his billionaire bros and huge corporations, of course. Oh, and by the way, is Doge being run by a 19-year-old that goes by the name of Big Balls? But I digress. Have we all gone along to the dark side? Sir, I am your father. Or have that many of us chosen to just not watch, eyes wide shut? Wake up, people. Wake up, stand up, and be a loud witness, to which too many of us are responding, "No, we don't want to see. We refuse to acknowledge this." Where is the public outcry, outrage? This administration is making hardworking, tax-paying, God-fearing residents afraid to live their lives, and they should be afraid. We're killing them at a rate of 4+ a day, according to Google. A land ruled by fear is not a land of the free. America is what it is, not in spite of immigrants, but because of immigrants. The false narrative is that in general, immigrants are criminal, or immigrants in general cause all sorts of danger and crime. This is not borne out by facts and numbers, as noted in previous presentations. Immigrants and slaves built this country. After the Chinese, largely, built the railroads, we created a new law, the Chinese Exclusion Act, kicking them out of the country. Not because they weren't productive members of society, but because of the color of their skin and different ways. We have since adopted and integrated many of those different ways. During World War II, we concentrated the Japanese in camps. How is that looked upon today? During a press conference held by Jonathan Ross, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas, announcing the arrest of 219 immigrants, when asked how many of those were accused of violent felonies, how many nonviolent felonies, how many misdemeanors, and how many just citations, he stated that the majority of people being removed are not being charged with violent criminal offenses. In essence, what he said was the rules have changed. people no longer have to be convicted of a crime. That people who weren't removable under the last administration now are, and anyone simply charged with no due process, no conviction necessary, even a traffic offense under the last administration, the records have been kept, are now being sought. What? A broken system yields broken results. They, this administration, are paying no attention to the consequences of their actions, and this applies elsewhere. And the consequences are people are being killed or their lives destroyed because they are brown and just don't belong here. We don't gain anything in the eyes of the world by being bullies, and acting as such does not make us seem tough. It just engenders disgust and distrust. What happened to us? Is this what America is now standing for, damn it? We must put an end to this crap. But what do we care if it doesn't directly affect us? We seem to be ignoring the facts. The facts being, these people, these fellow human beings, are desperate or fleeing danger, and we're ignoring their desperation and sending them back into danger. In the case of many refugees, to face their death. There are no longer any guardrails. The guardrails have been removed. We must push back against these policies. We must not stand for this. We must stand against it if we're going to continue thinking, wishing that we're compassionate enough to empathize with a fellow human being. Lincoln said, in this age, public sentiment is everything. Thus, we need this pushback to become normalized. It must become ubiquitous, appearing and found everywhere. They're depending on, relying on our silence and compliance. They won't stop. They have said so. That mush-mouthed border czar said, we're not stopping. I don't care what the judges say. Another flight every day. Thank you. My name is Mike Herbert. I'm from Manistee.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Lara Olis, and I was hoping that the city of Manistee would help my husband and I protect an important population of birds that calls Manistee home. Tim Marquand, he had a glass business at 64 Arthur Street, and he and his father started a purple martin colony, a huge purple martin colony there. I don't know if any of you are birders, but it's a pretty well-known colony, and it has 32 nesting gourds. And he no longer owns this property. He's in poor health, and he sold off the property, and we helped him all last year. The people who own the company let us go in and continue doing the nests. But we need to find a more permanent home for these two big nesting structures. And I don't know if any of you know what I'm talking about, but I have pictures here that you can show you. And I was looking at a spot that's owned by the city of Manistee that is right behind the shop. So purple martins need water, and they also need kind of an open area, not too close to trees, but they actually like being close to buildings and people. And so I'm not sure, maybe someone in the city has a better location, but I'm trying to find a place close by so that when the birds come back soon, they'll have nests to start nesting in. And because we're going to be taking down the nests off of the property. So let's see, I don't know if any of you ever have seen purple martins around the lakes. They used to be in those pretty old purple martin houses that people would have at the shorelines, and they eat bugs, and they're kind of an iconic species around lake homes in Michigan. And so anyhow, we're hoping that somebody somewhere on some city property, we can find a place to move these nests. They're known by the Audubon Society, and a lot of birders stop by to see them all the time at Tim's. I know I was one of them. And then when I found out he wasn't going to be able to continue managing it, because it is a lot of work, my husband and I stepped in and helped out last year. So I don't know if this is the right place to come. I did send an email as well to the city clerk, but,
We'll have somebody get back to you.
all right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Karen Mel from 536 4th Street, and I'm sorry I didn't plan to come in, so I'm not as polished as the others before me, but I was just so inspired tonight. I was down at the disc golf course, played 18 holes of disc golf with 3 young boys, and it was so beautiful. The sun was setting, and I just wanted to say how much that asset is appreciated. There were people out playing other than our family. There were people at the dog park. There were people walking on the beach. There were people playing tennis. There were people on Lighthouse Park Playground. And it was so stunning. Did I mention the sunset? I don't know if I mentioned that. It was just, I know we all know what a beautiful town that we live in, but I know that maybe some of you don't hear the stories that some of us on the Parks Commission hear sometimes, and I just wanted to share it with you. Kind of uplifting. There was some young 20-something boys playing disc golf, and I told them I was from the Parks Commission, and they said, "Ma'am, we appreciate this disc golf so much. This used to be," and they didn't know I was from town originally, but this used to be just an open field, and there was nothing to do, and the city created this for us, and now we have something free and fun to do, and we appreciate it so much. So I just wanted you to know that, and that's true with all of our parks. I don't think you could throw too much money at any of our parks, so I'm advocating for, you know, let's maintain, continue. We get comments about how well maintained our parks are compared to, say, cities they come from to visit. And I just wanted you to know that they're appreciated, they're used, and whatever we can do to continue to protect and preserve our parks and keep them well maintained, that would just be a great thing to do. And I know y'all know that, I'm preaching to the choir, but you don't get to hear some of those stories. If you ever want to hear more stories, I have loads of them just from walking the parks, and I solicit comments from people because I want to know, being on the parks, what they think. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope you'll have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for serving. Anybody else? Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. And we did talk about the nesting structure briefly this morning. We'll have some questions about how that arrangement could work, so we'll be getting back with you. Thank you. I want to thank the police and fire department for their presentations today. Appreciate their accomplishments this year. A lot of work occurred. A couple things. The short-term rental, the Planning Commission passed their recommendation for the zoning ordinance and also the codified ordinance. We're going to have the ordinance committee take a look at that, but we plan to have that at the April 15th agenda, as well as we also received our bid for refuse service this morning, so we'll plan to look at that and then hope to make a recommendation on the April 15th agenda as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Rosga.
I guess, I know the debris pickup for, you know, like branches and stuff doesn't start till May, but I wonder if there's any way to get it to sweep through earlier, because I see a lot of it. I see a Christmas tree, those branches by the Rams still, I don't know if they're still there, but.
Yeah, I think the second the snow melts, you see a lot of it. So,
Yeah.
but if we could take a look. If you report them, we can see if we can make.
I was just gonna say, I saw somebody out today.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and they were
Ramsdale's been cleaned up.
grinding.
Yay. Then I noticed in the notes from 3-4 staff meeting notes, DPW met with RED, R-E-D-E, to scout out 4 new locations at 5th Ave and 1st Street and identified a couple options. What was that referring to?
So a couple years ago, and this is before I was city manager, but we have entered into agreement with a charging station company. So there's a couple over by North Channel. They reached out about a year and a half ago. They applied for some grants to put in additional charging stations. So the nice thing about that is that it gets us on a map for people when they're traveling to the Upper Peninsula, that they'll stop in town. And you're looking for places, typically, well, there's fast chargers now, but you want to put them in a place where they'll park for a couple hours, maybe go downtown. The beach was another location. The Hampton already has one in their parking lot. But so they're looking to improve one site. We had the attorney look at the terms and conditions. So hope to have that come to council for your consideration in a month or so.
That's it, thanks.
Mr. Grabowski.
Okay. Bill, I know it's early, but are they gonna start doing a little pothole deal? I know they did it a while back when it was warm, but I saw a big semi today hit that deal on Arthur Street, and he was only about that far off the ground.
Yep, and I think we are in the midst of pothole season with the 60-degree temperature change we had the last. So I think, and Jeff's not here, there's an issue on 31 with sewer, but yeah, I think it's be on the schedule weekly at this point.
Okay. On Sands Park, are we gonna get a presentation pretty soon, or what are we doing with that?
So the Sands Park Control Board is meeting this Thursday. That's another good update. But yeah, just kind of, I think that proposal's gone around to a couple different groups at this point. And if you know, from the deed restriction, you know, where it's necessary, MAPS has priority, but so does MRA in the city, and then all the other kind of activities there, such as the AAY and skate park, are kind of up to that control board. So we're going to kind of be discussing that this Thursday.
Okay, because, you know, like I've said before, I disagree that MAPS is controlling that. I think it's an equal partnership.
So
And
yeah,
I
MAPS
see
in.
why they're trying to take it over.
In the control board, it is set up so that it's a mutual, I mean, between, you have 2 city representatives on the board, 2 MAPS representatives. There is kind of those guiding principles about what dictates what happens at that board, but we work together, split the cost of removing the dilapidated tennis courts. So I think it's never going to be completely controlled by the city or MAPS, and it's something we just have to work together on.
Right, you know, they could use it without taking over, but we'll wait to see on that.
And I think we're just talking about maintenance responsibilities. For whatever reason, the city was maintaining Sands Park, and I'm not sure why that became the case. So we're really talking about MAPS taking over like lawn mowing. But, you know, if the skating rink is going to continue, that's something, does the city continue setting that up? So those are kind of the details we're working through right now.
Well, I know for years, you know, even 50 years ago, when I used to go up there, I mean, the city just took it over. I mean, the MAPS, and the superintendents were happy with it. They didn't have no kind of problem with it at all.
And I could see why they'd be happy with us mowing the lawn, but I think it's about, I think, equity. If we're going to be gaining some green space at Jefferson, taking care of that, they should take on some responsibility for maintenance in another area. So that was the idea behind it.
Okay.
Anything else, Jim? You done,
Yep.
Jim? Ms. Keck?
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Raddatz?
And thank
Oh,
you
sorry.
to fire and police for sharing with us. It's always nice to hear all of that, as well as all of the other people that feel comfortable speaking in front of us.
Ms. Raddatz?
Well, I'm just going to connect with what Ms. Kolk said and just say our amazing police department and fire department just create so many opportunities, not only for the things that we celebrate at the waterfront and downtown, but just for regular people living their lives on Cedar Street. So thank you so much.
Mr. Smith?
I am all set, thank you.
Ms. Lasky?
Just one question, Bill, to further what Jim was saying. Is it just a maintenance swap, or will the city be removed from the name on that deed? So the city would
No,
still retain
yeah.
ownership of that? That's where I think
Absolutely,
people
yeah.
aren't clear.
Yeah, no, we're talking about maintenance, and it was to be an equitable maintenance swap. The city could not, the Sands family gave the deed for that section, which is Sands Park, to both the school and to the city. So, like I said, there's 2 control board members of the city, 2 on MAPS, so there would not be any transfer of ownership. There's no takeover. It did say that the first consideration is to MAPS where it's necessary for the function of the school. It's now an elementary school, so the thought was, you know, what do they need for the elementary school? They've had discussions with the MRA. You know, the city's talked to them as well, so that's kind of where it's at. We're just kind of figuring out what's the best use to make it a good, viable community space going forward.
Okay. Then the second question, I see the Ramsdale people here. And first of all, we've got great letters, and that, for people to come here and to write letters and give input, that's the best thing that you can do, because you sit up here and you don't always know what everybody's thinking or what and we're supposed to be representing everybody's best interest and opinion, so thank you. And I don't think there's anybody in Manistee who doesn't love the Rams, so who hasn't been on the stage or in the audience, if you've been here at any time at all. Having grown up here, it's part of our life. But I think one of my concerns is, like you hear tonight, everybody needs more money, which is in life. But the city, we do pay those 45 mills, and if you live outside the city, they are paying anywhere from 20 to 25, and it's called a regional arts center. And two questions is, I just wish we would get more they come to the events there, but I wish the county would participate more with money on that. And you've probably approached them, but I thought maybe write them letters too, because they're and I'm not saying to do that, but there isn't a discount for living here and getting a ticket, and I don't want that. But like the ambulance, so the Manistee, we're supporting the Riverwalk, 3 boat launches, 2 beaches, everything that goes on, the playing fields for, the entire county that we do. And I know some of the county does help the MRA, but I wish they would help more, because we've got to keep that Ram still going. But we do need more help. It can't be all the city, and it's called regional. And then the second thing, I wish that we could get the civic players, I remember back in there more, that it was more of an arts center. I thought we've got the most beautiful theater around, and we need to have more plays. And that would make it more, it's got to be more viable, where more people are in it more often. And if we could just get, and I don't know if there's any way, wasn't a part of that whole whatever, but if we could get some way, get them back in there, and even the Manistee Art Institute, that was Sue Wilson they used to have wonderful exhibits. I was on that art board. They worked hard. They got the U of M came up and did a hanging system, and there were some valuable paintings there. And I thought, I just wish that if it's going to be the Arts Council, I wish we could overcome our differences as a community and get all the arts in there. So, and thank you though for what you do on the board and for working so hard to keep it. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.